So now we are back to the part 3. So what's the problem? The problem is when you put everything together. If you only use the 70mm wrenches to tighten up the lug nuts, it will be very tight, right? It will be very tight. And the lug nut can still come out. And if you don't make it tight enough in a way that almost hard to move, the lug nut will come out, okay? I mean, the damage, internally it will get damaged if you make it too tight with only this one-step process. I can make it tight right here. And it's not even tightening up the lug nut. Now it's very tight, way too tight. So what we do is when we want to make it loose, go loose a little bit, and we want to use a cone wrench. In this case, 15mm cone wrench. You can buy a power tool or a bike hand. So you are basically making the lug nut against the cone very tight, pretty tight. And then you want to check the preload. Now you can see, although the lug nut perfectly tightens the cone, but there's a play. Now there's a play, and that's a big problem. When you have a play, although it will glide very nicely, right? Extremely nicely, because there's no resistance, right? But the hub will get damaged very quickly since the bearings are bouncing around inside the hub. So the solution in the next step is going to be going back to the 70mm wrenches and make it tight, gradually and carefully. Since this whole, the lug nut spacer, the washer, and also the cone are very tight. So when you turn the lug nuts, both left and right, it will also turn the cone. Take a look here. You see it? Take a look here, right here. When I turn the lug nut, the cone will also get turned. And now you can check it. There's still a little bit of a play. So let's do more, just a tiny bit more. We want to tighten this up in a way that there's just no play, yet still turns very nicely. That's the goal. Now let's try again. Still some play. So let's do a bit more. Still a little bit play. Almost perfect, but there's still a tiny bit of a play. Like a tiny bit. Can you hear it? So let's give it a little bit more turn. Now, there's no play. So after the third adjustment, there's no play. So we have achieved perfect preload. This is how I do it. Perfect preload. So then the last step is going to be putting on the dust cap seal. So the seal goes in, it seals the edge perfectly, right? But this part is kind of dry. You see the edge right here? So it can fill in some grease before you close it, before you put it on, like this. You can also put a little bit over here. like here. That way, if you look at its profile, when you put this in, everything will be perfectly sealed on the left side. On the right side, it's not perfectly sealed, but that's okay. It can still be serviced. But now we have a perfectly rebuilt hub. That glass turns extremely nicely. Extremely nicely, and it won't come out. That's how you build a perfectly. That's how you build a perfect hub. That will last longer. Also improve pedaling efficiency, which is extremely helpful for shorter riders. Then the last step is going to be testing of the turning. I'm gonna test how it turns.